Right then, welcome back to the channel, and today we've got not one, but two customer cars for you. It's definitely not slow. So, the two Ibizas that you can see behind me might look like mildly modified diesel hatchbacks, but the combined horsepower of these two Ibizas is 645 horsepower. Close to 900 foot-pound of torque and doing 100 to 200 kilometers an hour in about 10.5 seconds. So to put that into perspective, a brand new Porsche Cayman S does it in roughly about 10.5 seconds. So they're pretty quick. Let's have a look what's involved to get those sort of figures. So continuing with the standard-ish theme, under the bonnet, everything looks standard-ish, I suppose, other than the air filter that's quite obvious. Yeah, doesn't look like there's actually that much going off, but we'll start with the obvious. So if I remove this, you can now see our GTB 2566 turbo. Obviously, intake pipe, this has got the stage 1 injector upgrade, ported head, new ARP custom head bolts, uprated valves and springs, and a set of our race camshafts. Other than that, the engine itself is pretty stock. We've got a CP3 fuel pump on there, front mount intercooler. We changed the standard oval port cam belt on this to our wider cam belt kit, obviously because it's going for big horse poos. An external oil cooler on there with a takeoff plate. Moving on to the gearbox, we've got the obviously stock O2M gearbox in here. It's running a wave track, limited slip differential, SRE, dual mass flywheel and uprated clutch. A few strengthening mods on there, so the 4th gear support. I think we've got a short shifter on there as well. I think that's about it. So this one is running 335 horsepower. The other one is running, I think it's 315 horsepower off the top of my head. Very, very similar specs for both vehicles. Probably worth mentioning as well that both Ibizas are used as daily drivers, so they're not particularly stripped out. Well, they've got full interior in there. They've been tuned pretty cleanly, so there's not much smoke. EGTs, high 800s, maybe touching 900s on a hard pull. So this setup is pretty reliable, to be fair, especially with the new head bolts. They've proven really good upgrade over the standard ARP ones. That's not to say the old ones aren't any good, but these ones are particularly better, and they do seem to be holding up pretty well, especially on Dan's Scirocco, which has pushed even harder than these. So I think at some point we are going to be doing a feature on Dan's Scirocco, having a look around that and what figures that's doing. This one is getting collected today by the customer, so we're probably not going to have time to road test that. I think this one is going to be left with us for a few more days, so the next part of this video we'll get out on a road test and see what it drives like. But I think the actual plan for this, now he's completed the engine build and the mods, well, come over here. This damage has been here a while. I think he's been quoted quite a lot to get that repaired, and I think he's had it in his head for quite a while now. He's wanted something else. So I believe the customer's bought or buying a Skoda Yeti. Nice. And we'll be putting the full engine and everything in that. Nice. I think he's going to leave it 4-wheel drive. So that should be pretty fun. I believe it's DSG as well. So maybe in a future video, we'll do a bit of a walk around of that Yeti when it's all done, which should be quite interesting. So anyway, let's get out in this car, see what she drives like. So, just out in the Ibiza. Now, I know I said this was going to be the gold one, but it's not, it's actually the black one. Although, I'm pretty sure if I'd have not said anything, you probably wouldn't have even noticed. But, don't like to pull wool over anyone's eyes, so we are in the black one. This one is 333 horsepower, 450 foot-pound of torque. That is diesel only as well. So yeah, I'm not sure what these weigh. I'm pretty sure Adam will be able to put that up on the screen now. And obviously, just while the car's getting up to temperature, might as well start with how it drives normally. Just on the bypass, cruising along. It's not overly loud. It's not laggy. It's still got plenty of response low down, and that's Well, I'm currently sat at 2,500 RPM. Put your foot down and there's enough there. This is the first time I've drove this car, but I have drove our old yellow Ibiza, which I think was 300 horsepower, and that was quite a handful. So even at 300 horsepower, these are quite fun to drive. Mentioned earlier, this has got a wave track in, so it's capable of putting the power down pretty well. Obviously, nice dry day, decent set of tyres, so shouldn't be too bad. But 450 foot-pound, I'm pretty sure if we wanted to, could get these Michelin Pilot Sports ripping up. I reckon a few more minutes and we'll be ready to give it a bit of a squirt. Looking around, there's nothing particularly fancy in here. It's pretty standard FR spec. We've got a nice Alpine edge unit. Other than that, we've got like an OBD gauge here, which is telling us as boost, as temperature, intake temperature, and voltage. So that's pretty handy. But yeah, just a nice, I'm not going to say cheap, but mid-range hatchback. Pretty affordable for the younger generation. I'm in my 30s now, so I wish I could put myself in that group, but I think I'm just about past it. But yeah, even these 140 horsepower standard. This is a CFHD engine, which all these FRs come with, pretty sure. Even with the remap, 180 horsepower, pretty good. We do a 200 horsepower upgrade for them, and then you could just go for just the turbo kit standard fuel system, which would get you to about 250 horsepower. And then obviously if you wanted to go balls out, this is where we are today in this particular one. So like I said, this is a pretty daily spec. The customer uses it as a daily driver, going to work and back, and then on a weekend when he wants to have a bit of fun. So without even going crazy, it feels quick. Obviously, as with most customer cars, we don't want to drive them like a on the road, especially on these road tests. We'll leave that to the customer. If we can get the customer to get a few clips of a few pulls and things like that, we'll get him to do that and maybe insert them at the end of this video. But yeah, it's definitely getting a lot of hot hatch vibes with this. Right at the beginning of the video, we mentioned the draggy times from this is approximately 10.5 seconds, 100 kilometers an hour to 200 kilometers an hour, which we mentioned that is pretty much the same as a brand new 718 Cayman S, which are about 350 horsepower. That is a proper sports car, and for a diesel Seat Ibiza, I'm pretty sure any Porsche owner would be shocked if this was keeping up with them or pushing them down the bypass in Mexico, obviously. Cheeky little pull. Even in the dry, the diff's working. Feel it then, a bit of torque steer. Nothing uncontrollable, but you can definitely feel the diff working and putting that 450 foot-pound of torque down on the road. It's definitely not slow. Definitely not slow. Earlier we listed all the modifications this has got. It'll take you a few minutes to look through the website to work out to get it to this standard reliably. It's not mega cheap. Obviously we have got cheaper options, but if you want this power reliably and to do it correctly, it's not going to be a cheap option. Pretty sure in the comments there's going to be plenty of people saying, oh, I can get that horsepower from those engines at a quarter of that price, but realistically it's probably not going to last. Which brings me on to this particular customer. Originally he bought all the parts from us, had it fitted elsewhere and tuned elsewhere, and had nothing but problems. So eventually it's now in our capable hands. We've done a bit of rectification work, we've done all the tuning on this now, and now the customer's finally happy with the setup and the usability of the car. So unfortunately for that customer, it's been even more expensive for him. He's obviously had to pay for the labour and tuning twice now. But hopefully if you're watching this video and you do want to do a modification to your car similar to this, don't make the same mistakes. We've been doing this longer than a decade now, so I'd comfortably say to anybody, we know what we're doing with these cars. So anyway, let's stop waffling on, see what this bad boy can do. It's just at the right limit, I'd say, for making you hold the steering wheel a little bit tighter because it's a little bit leery, but without feeling like it's going to put you in the ditch. It definitely keeps you on your toes, but it's one of them that kind of gets the blood pumping, the adrenaline going, exactly what you want from a little hot hatch. So we're going to head back now. The customer's waiting in the reception. He was pretty keen for me to come out and do the video, which is why we're in this car, not the other one. Hopefully you've liked this video. We are planning on doing more customer car videos in the future, so if you want to see them, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. See you in the next video.